Good day, children. Sairam. Welcome back to our science class. And we are going to continue with our lesson number 8, adaptations in animals. That is part 4. So, what did we learn in part 1, 2, 3? Do you remember? Yes, we learned that different habitats on the earth have different conditions. And also we learned that animals living in different habitats are adapted to the conditions there. And today, what are we going to learn? So we are going to learn that when sometimes some weather conditions are not suitable for the animals, or the not only the weather condition, or if the surroundings are also not suitable for the animals, so some animals do hibernations and or migrations. So we have already learned about the hibernating animals, right? So if the winter season starts, some animals starts hibernating. So that is a long deep sleep they go to for the hibernation. Now let's what we learned in part 2, 3, that is about the different animals, about the terrestrial animals, about the aquatic animals, and about the amphibians. Right, so what are terrestrial animals? The animals that live on land are called terrestrial animals, like the desert animals, the polar region animals, and the animals which lives in forests, right? And the animals that live in water are called as aquatic animals. So how do they breathe? How do they swim? All that we learned. And also about the animals that live both on land and in water are called as amphibians. So they have the lungs to breathe, and we saw the examples of all these animals. And today we are going to learn about the animals that live on trees. The animals that live on trees. So they are called as arboreal. They are called as arboreal animals. So what are arboreal animals, and give example. So arboreal animals are the animals that lives on trees, right? So arboreal animals are the creatures, means the animals who spend the majority of their lives in trees. So they eat, sleep, and play in the tree canopy. The tree canopy means the uppermost branch of the tree. So why these animals are living on trees? Because they spend the majority, the most of their life on trees. So what all the activities they do on trees? They eat, they sleep, they play in the tree. That is the uppermost branch of the trees, because those branches are very strong. And there are thousands of species that live in these trees, including monkeys, koalas, tree frogs, sloths, various rodents, parrots, chameleons, tree snakes, and variety of insects. So there are many living creatures which lives on trees. So these are the examples of the arboreal animals. And we have also arboreal birds spend most of their time in trees and dense foliage. Dense foliage means where there are a lot of leaves are there. The forest is covered with the tall trees and with a lot of leaves. That is called dense foliage. So arboreal birds spend most of their time in the trees and dense foliage, and they will perch and roost in trees. Perch and roost in trees means they will sit and take rest in the trees. They will search their food in holes of the trees and the tree cavities looking for insects and seeds. That is why these birds they also live on trees. So they also search their food in holes and tree cavities looking for insects and trees. We can find a lot of insects living on the trees. So the best example what we have seen is the arboreal animals that live on tree is monkey. So you must have seen the monkey playing on the trees, climbing from one branch to another branch. And we also have a squirrel. We also have a squirrel which spend most of their time on trees. So they are known as arboreal animals. So they have strong arms. So have you seen the monkeys climbing here and there? How? They have the strong arms and legs to climb on the trees. But these squirrels, they don't have the strong arms. Yes, then how do they climb? Squirrels use their strong claws. They have the claws there on their legs, which clings tightly. Clings means holds tightly to the branches. And now some monkeys, their tail, they coil their branch muscular tail around while swinging from branch to branch. So these long tail, they coil the branches and they swing from one branch to another. Okay, now these are the characteristics of the arboreal animals. Now let's learn about the animals that fly. So animals that fly, they are called as aerial. They are called as aerial animals. So animals, which animals do fly? So animals such as birds and bats, they spend lot of time in the air. So you must have seen always they are flying. So they spend their lot of time in the air. They are known as aerial animals. So the animals which spend, like birds and bats, which spend a lot of time in the air is called aerial animals. Now the animals that fly, they are called as birds. So their bodies of birds are covered with feathers. So have you seen the birds? Yes, I'm sure that you must have seen the birds. Their body is covered with feathers. And you should know to draw the bird and name its parts also. So their body are covered with what? Feathers. And their bones are hollow. Hollow means they have a hole in between. This is called hollow. So their bones have hollow, and this makes the body very light and help them in flying. So that is why these birds can fly very easily. They have feathers on their body and their bones are hollow. Their bones are hollow. That is why their body is very light and helps them in flying. And some birds which lives in cold region. Okay, some birds which lives in very cold region like icy polar regions, such as Siberian in Russia. So these are Siberian birds in Russia. They migrate. Now what is the meaning of migrate? Okay. Now some birds which lives in very cold places, they cannot survive in the cold winter. They cannot survive in the cold winter there. So what they do is they leave their homes in winter. They leave their homes in winter and fly to the warmer climate where they can find food easily. So that is why we can see in the bird sanctuaries a lot of birds visiting during the summertime. So during the winter sides, the birds which cannot bear the cold climate, they fly to the warmer side so that they can find their food easily. So they visit the warmer places. So many of these birds, they come to India. So all these Russian birds also, they come to India. So and again they go back. Again they go back when the winter season ends. So this regular movement of animals, every year in search of better living conditions is called migration. So when the winter starts, the birds fly to the summer places, and again when the winter season gets over, they go back to their own places. Until that, they will stay in the warmer places so that they can get their food easily. So this activity, it is called migration, and these birds are called as migrating birds. Now, what are aerial birds? So what we learned today about the aerial and about the arboreal. Now, what are aerial birds? Aerial birds, a truly aerial bird, is a type of bird that thrives when airborne, accomplishing many essential activities in the air and spending much of its life in flight. Nothing, they just spend most of their time in the air, so they are called as aerial birds. And what is the adaptation of aerial animals? So animals that are adapted to flying are aerial animals. Birds like eagle and kites have body feature well adapted to flying. Birds, you must have seen the eagle, they always fly very high up in the sky. So they always spend their time in flying. Birds have streamlined body, narrow neck, pointed beak to glide in the air. So birds have streamlined body, narrow neck and pointed beak to glide in the air. And the body is covered with feathers. Now, examples of aerial animals are vultures, albatross, flamingos, insects like monarch, butterfly, marsupials like bats. Now, these are Siberian birds. I told you about the migrating birds, and you should practice drawing the bird and name its parts. There is beak, crown, head, wings, tail, leg, belly, wing. Okay, so all this you can practice, and you can see in your textbook also, page number 65. Label the following diagram. So you can label it there itself in the textbook. So in the next class, let us learn about the adaptation for food. Animals that are the animals that eat the plants or other animals. So let's continue the lesson in the next session. Bye bye, children.